$26.49 per hour. Consideration and possible action to close the annual town meeting warrant articles. Consideration and possible action on special town meeting warrant articles, and then adjournment. So,
Placed on the agenda, please. I'm not.
yeah, and I think we should probably take care of you before the warrant article, so you don't have to sit through that.
Sounds good to me.
All right. Why don't we start with the Pledge of Allegiance? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If we could now have a moment of silence for all the senseless violence going on in the world. Thank you. Public service announcements. Jamie?
None.
Mary?
No.
And I have none. Thank you. We'll jump right into the action items. You want to do the consideration and possible action on the appointment of Megan Boucher as finance clerk at the hourly rate of $26.49 per hour, effective May 8th, 2023.
Yeah, we're really excited that she is willing to accept an offer from us. Megan has worked in municipal government for a few years. She's familiar with Munis. She's energetic, and just really, I got the chance to meet her on Friday when Barbara was interviewing her. Very, very energetic, ball of life, ready to move on and up, and she sees this as a great opportunity for her, and we thought she'd be a really good fit.
Great. I think
She doesn't have a bad commute either. North Grovendale is nothing.
No, it's right up there. She went to high school in Burrillville, Rhode Island, so she grew up right around the corner from me.
that's great.
It's only in Rhode Island. This can only happen.
I'm going to make a motion to appoint Megan Boucher as finance clerk at the hourly rate of $26.49 per hour, effective May 8th, 2023.
Second.
All right, we got a motion, a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. 3-0.
Great.
All right, next up, why don't you come up to the mic and
Already. Thank you for moving in. So my name is Mark Smith. Robin knows me all too well. I've met with her during her open
How was the
office
winter
hours.
vacation?
Very nice, thank you. Just got back yesterday morning.
It was an island, right?
Well, I was in Hawaii for the winter, but then went
Hawaii,
skiing
I
in
knew it was
Montana.
somewhere exotic.
I was skiing in Montana. It's a tough time.
You went from Hawaii to Montana. You had a tough winter, so, well,
so-
welcome back.
But I got back, Sunday morning early, late Saturday night, and I called earlier today and I said, when's the next Board of Selectmen? They said, I'm thinking in a week or 2 or 3. They said 6:30. I said, okay, I'll see if I can. So you may or may not remember me. I and 3 of my neighbors attended a meeting. I want to say it was in July of last year.
with the traffic on the lake.
Yes.
Exactly. And I think we might have even spoken in the parking lot afterwards. Took a few minutes to be with us, which is great. So, and Robin has been gracious enough to meet with me a few times in her office or the conference room here to talk about Lake Road and our concerns. So Lake Road is on one of the roads, it's on the east side of Big Alum, and it is legally a private road. And as anyone who's driven on it will tell you, and including Robin, the first time she drove on it, she was like, wow. It's very windy and very narrow and very poorly maintained. And so anyway, my wife and I moved in officially full-time a couple years ago. And I'm talking to neighbors, and everyone's complaining about the speed of the traffic. Everyone's complaining about the volume of the traffic. And of course, the lousy pavement. So I came here last year and basically said, hey, we pay a ton in taxes. Will you please fix the road? And long story short, after banging my head against the wall, and everyone was very cordial, but the rules are, it's a private road, and until we bring it up to specifications, there's really nothing the town can do. And to do so would be outrageously expensive, if not impossible. We'd have to be buying land from people. We'd be taking down old growth trees. We'd be taking up yards and fences, and we'd have to have everybody agree. I think you can get everybody, 50 homeowners to agree on it, on the color of the sky. I mean, good luck. So So that's not really an option. So I'm trying to start up a road association. Of course, we had our first meeting a couple of weeks ago, and the first thing that people say is, we pay our tax dollars, people, it's a public road, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I know, I already went there. If you guys want to go talk to the town about it, have at it, and good luck. Let me know how it goes. So I told them what I thought was realistic and what isn't. Now, one of the things that was talked about, at least a little bit last summer at the meeting here, was whether or not a gate could be put up. And interestingly, and I showed this to Robin last fall, but it says deed restrictions preclude gate on Lake Road. And I said to my neighbors, when this came out a week or so, whatever it was later, I said, was that decision made? I don't remember that decision. They said, no, we don't remember it. Anyway, I brought it up with Robin. So I pressed the issue, worked with Mark and DPW. He sent a deed to me, and I read the deed from 1921, by the way, over a century ago. And I said, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm looking at this deed, and it strikes me that we actually could gate it based on this deed. I said, I don't know. So I asked Robin, would you please push it through your town attorney, general counsel, whatever you would call him. And he did write a letter, and I have a hard copy of it here with me. I'm sure you got it on file somewhere. And the answer is we could gate it, but there are restrictions and there are details. It's not that simple. But bottom line is, it is a private road. It could be gated. But one of the things he does say, if you do gate it, you would lose the ability to have the road plowed, which the town does currently, and to fix potholes. Minor maintenance. So I've been thinking about it, and actually I'm coming to you as the potential future president, which will get me nothing but headaches, of a road association.
We get it.
Was it no good deed goes unpunished? No good deed. Be a public servant, no good deed goes unpunished. But sometimes you just can't take it anymore, and you're tired of everybody complaining about the road, and you're like, okay, let's see if we can try to do something. And I'm just doing the best I can. I don't even know if we're going to have a road association. If someone else wants to be president, God bless them. They won't get any argument from me. But I got to thinking, and I've talked to a couple of my neighbors just casually. I said, what if we really took ownership of the road in a good way, stewardship of the road, where we say to the town, okay, we'll do what needs to be done. We'll raise the money, which, fingers crossed, we're not there yet. And I do have a quote. The worst part of the road is the hill, going up to the mailboxes, if you're familiar with it. It's in terrible shape. And to do the entire hill and a little bit around the corner there would be, I think we got a quote for 104 grand or something. To do just the bottom of the hill would be 32 grand is our quote. So we've got our work cut out for us. At the first meeting, I said, I will do some leadership giving and put my money where my mouth is. I put a lot of time and energy into it. We'll give $5,000. I got my wife to agree to $5,000. So not everyone's going to get $5 grand, but I was hoping maybe $1,000, and maybe some people would give more and be inspired to make the road a better place. What I'm getting to, though, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. As you can tell, I got a lot of details on my mind about this. Instead of a gate, a mechanical restriction, which would be a lot of challenges with that, and expenses and everything else too. Wondering if I can ask for your help in doing a non-physical restriction of the road. For instance, a big sign that says private road. There, by the way, already is a small sign that says private road on both ends of it. But a big sign, which we'll pay for, I don't care. If it's our property, we'll pay for a sign on it. That says private road, residents and guests only. It doesn't currently say that right now. Then another sign, maybe 20 feet past that says speed limit 15. Again, there's speed limit 20, but it's a small sign, big, bold sign. And then another sign 20 feet beyond that, on both sides of the road, the north and the south side, that says police take notice, or something to that effect. Again, big. And what I'm really would be asking for your help with is, and we can call the police, and they've been cooperative. I've spoken to police about this too, asked them to monitor the road, especially in the afternoon when school, Tantasco gets out. But is to to enforce it. And then I'm getting into a little bit of uncharted territory. At one point, I was thinking like, could we give everybody in the neighborhood a card, a laminated card? Or could we put a decal on the windshield or something so that police would know? Now, I know it gets more complicated because Amazon delivers and Domino delivers and people have guests. Although if someone pulls, if a police officer pulls someone over and they say, I'm going to the Smith cottage or I'm going to the Jones household, the police officer could actually drive with them and make sure that's actually where they're going if they don't have a decal. Basically just looking for some serious enforcement. If we're going to treat it like private property and we're going to take responsibility for it, we're going to maintain the road largely ourselves, at least like on the hill with a large scale repaving. That's really what I'm asking for, is if you guys can find a way, maybe it's an exception. Maybe you need to make an exception to do that. And if so, I'm asking that you do, because everybody drives fast, except for they want everybody to go slow in their neighborhood. I get that. But we really do have a very narrow road. In fact, Heather just had signs, just in the last week or two, I think, on both ends, big yellow sign that says road narrows. So it's really more like a one-lane road, and it's super windy, and it's not safe. And that's a problem for me living in the neighborhood. When my wife goes for a walk, I get anxious. It's a problem, honestly, for the town. So I'm asking you to work with me. And if we say, hey, we're willing to try to pony up 30 grand, maybe if we're lucky, 100 grand, and do something, take ownership of the road in that sense in terms of stewardship and maintaining it, can you guys help us enforce to reduce the volume and reduce the speed of the automobiles on it? That's really my request. Particularly at the beginning of the school year, I did ask the police department if they would have the school resource officer speak at Tantascwa last August or whenever orientation for the kids is. They said they did. We didn't see any difference in behavior, speed, or volume. But I can tell you what, if you put one police officer in my driveway and another about a quarter mile at the bottom of the hill, and those kids come through at 220 like a freight train, as they do every day, and he's got his lights on and he pulls behind him and there's 10 cars pinned and none of those kids have decals and there's some type of a citation, maybe they won't do it again, and maybe word will get out, and maybe that will reduce the volume of traffic, especially fast-moving traffic. So, as you can see, I'm just ruminating. I mean, these are ideas that are coming. I don't know.
Well, just from that to that point, doesn't seem like it requires anything. If kids are coming through on the way to Tantasco going way too fast,
Yes?
that seems like something the police can do something about right at this moment.
Yeah, I've asked them to take a look at it at 220, and at least on one occasion or more, they have stationed a squad car there. It's a question of whether or not you just want to put a cop car sitting there at Old Town Way as they start to come through, and they're like, oh, okay, a cop car. Maybe they go a little bit slower that day. But honestly, these kids are, 16, 17, 18. They're driving their parents' car. They don't care about the potholes. They break a strut or whatever damage to the suspension. They're just come blazing through like a train of elephants or like a fast-moving train of. It's got you gotta draw some blood in terms of citations. You gotta write some tickets, and the word has to get out.
Is that the biggest problem? Are the kids the biggest problem?
Yeah, there's a lot of other cut-through traffic, but I would say the morning and the afternoon, we were talking about it last year, and I don't know this for a fact, but a lot of people who walk the road in the morning, the kids go through, they smell the pot, and so I think it's a ritual for some kids, particularly in the morning, I don't know, maybe in the afternoon, to,
Yeah.
they light up on the way through, figuring that they're not as visible as they would be on Route 148 or something like that. It's a concern. I mean, I've got, moms of young kids. I'm thinking of one just a few doors down. She's got 3 kids, all under the age of 8, and it makes her really anxious to walk with the kids to the bus stop. I mean, there's always risks being on a road, but that's...
Can I just backtrack for a second? I don't recall being at that meeting in the summer.
Yeah.
It was
It was July,
Gentleman came in.
I know, I'm drawing a blank, but I did get a few phone calls from people who lived on Lake Road concerning, I know you said it's in, and I know you want more from us than this, but I know you said it was in terrible shape. I got a few phone calls last summer and in the early fall about the potholes.
Yeah.
And then I forwarded it, and were potholes corrected at least?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
we have gotten response. I mean, I've talked
Yes,
to
the potholes were corrected.
I've talked to
Okay.
Heather on more than one occasion. There was one time I called and said the hill's a mess, and it was 1 or 2 days later, they showed up.
Okay, that's what I thought, because I did take a ride after I got phone calls from more than one resident.
Private road, Mary.
Yeah, was I considered a guest at that point?
still
At this point, it's not.
No, I know.
It's just-
I was being
I just wanted to know if they were being a real squeaky wheel or not, and she was right.
Yeah. I
It
mean, I've
was-
gotten calls back from police officers. When I've called the police department, I've gotten calls very friendly, very helpful. I don't know that we're getting.
We did fix those
Yeah,
potholes,
yeah.
because they had a lot of potholes.
Yeah.
And so I contacted my acquaintance, and I said, even though you're a private road, we have to maintain potholes and plow, because school buses go on that.
Right.
And so I think we did at least address that part
But
of it.
if they do not want the public to drive through it at all, we can no longer plow it or pothole
Right.
fill.
No, I know that.
Because
That's,
So, and in answer.
so it's a little bit,
Yeah, they're
it's a little
giving
tricky.
up, they're going to have to get their own snowplow service and everything else to do this.
Unless there's an exception made.
It's in the bylaws.
So, yeah.
It's pretty, I mean, you'd have to literally go to town meeting and change the bylaws, but I can tell you, if you do that, every private road
Right. You-
is going to be in question.
I mean, as soon as you said residents and guests only, the exception would have to be, your school bus.
State law, too, I
and-
have to check on that.
And anybody getting deliveries, those companies may not be willing to go on that road, right? Would Amazon, if you're making a delivery, I'm just thinking, I guess I'm ruminating a little
We
bit
could put on the
myself.
sign, deliveries
Yeah,
welcome.
there are private, it's no different than if you have a long driveway,
Right.
and Amazon drives down your long driveway to deliver something
I
to the
just wouldn't
back.
want to see residents and
But-
guests only and have that dissuade them from even being willing to deliver the pizza.
Right.
And,
Right, you'd
make-
have to let them know when you call, literally, put a note on it, say, please come down private road. But I think the challenge, and certainly I'll talk to Chief Desert about this, and I've talked about this with him in passing, the challenge of doing what you're saying and just having signage and then having the police enforce it, his enforcement ability on something that's truly private changes a little bit. The residents can call and say, we have somebody trespassing. And it will become not a traffic, patrol issue, it becomes a call.
right.
So if you have
Comes
a call, like a call in, I have somebody in my,
Call
I
for
have a long
aid.
driveway back to my barn, let's say. If there's somebody sitting in my driveway, I'm gonna call the cops and I'm gonna say, I got somebody trespassing on my property.
Yep, sure.
Your road effectively becomes
Yep.
a driveway, like a private entrance. So, I mean, I'll talk to the chief about what you're requesting. And I mean, we certainly can assist you with accessing signage. I don't think we have a problem with,
Well, signage
with
makes
that.
sense.
Yeah.
We can assist with that. I think that the question of enforcement, there are legalities around what he can do on private property. It changes the whole Fourth Amendment. I mean, there's a weird dynamic with what he can or cannot do and provide enforcement on the road. Can he provide police officers occasionally to sit at the top of the road to dissuade people from ignoring a sign that says private road? Yes, that they can do. But he'd have to see a tag or something to know that somebody's violating.
But I think that the central point is, from a safety issue, we'll do what you guys need from us to make sure nobody gets hurt, and then we can work out the details. Signage seems like an easy starting point, and then you kind of build from there, I figure.
Can I ask why they didn't want to do a gate with a fob, that we could give like ambulances the fob?
Yeah, I mean, first responders.
Yeah, I mean, we could do it with a gate. I mean, certainly first responders would have a fob to get in,
But the whole gate, then the plowing and the potholes.
but we're not doing those anyway. We can't do those anyway.
No,
Well, we
well, no, we
already
could.
No,
we-
once a gate's up. or
Oh,
No,
once
no,
a
but
gate's-
correct me if
And
I'm
that's why-
mistaken, that's why
I'm
they
trying to go
didn't want the
I'm trying
gate.
to go the middle road.
You don't want a gate because you want us to
Oh,
fix
no,
your
but then we
potholes.
can't, so if, no,
That's-
but
he-
again, we cannot restrict people from using the road legally, signage or no signage,
we're-
if
if we're
we
doing the
maintain the
potholes.
road. The law will not allow us to do that.
If we're maintaining it. I knew that's what he was trying
That's-
to get at.
Yeah, I
He-
thought you didn't want the gate for convenience for residents.
No, he doesn't want the
Okay.
physical barrier because correct me if I'm wrong, they do want us to plow and fix potholes.
I mean, we could put signs up, though.
They do want us to maintain it.
Right, so if you want to continue maintenance, we can put more signage.
I mean, you know, the majority of the pothole fixing right now, by far, is on the hill. So if we repair the hill, then, I'm not gonna say the rest of the road is in great shape, but it's in okay shape, and the hill is an absolute disaster. So that's not so much of a problem, it's more the snow plowing.
Yeah, you better clear, I mean, I know you want to be president of the association, right, the road association? Just make, you know, crystal clear that if you do go that gate, from the way I'm understanding the legalities, then the town's not going to plow. And that's a long, Lake Road is,
It's an expensive road to plow.
I would think that's going to be pretty costly.
Well,
Not
that's-
this winter, because we had
That's
a
why you're
mild
trying not to
winter.
use the gate,
That's
then,
why I'm
okay.
trying to.
That you're
do a
trying not to
workaround.
use the
I
gate.
thought you-
The gate
okay.
is really complex too, honestly. I mean, every Amazon, you know, every.
Yeah,
every
it's very
pizza
challenging.
It
delivery,
doesn't sound practical.
Every
No,
furnace
it's-
contractor, I mean, I have plumbers come to my house weekly,
Yeah, it's a pain in the
unfortunately.
But he wants us with a non-physical barrier to do the maintenance, but make it a
So what I have
private
to,
residence only.
yeah, what I have to find out if that's a loophole that the law will allow, or will it not? Because I'll have to go back to my records from the emails from Jonathan, reread that, and then go specifically with him. Can we enforce it?
Right.
It wouldn't
and
seem
still
logical.
maintain
If we're
it?
spending public
I
dollars
don't
on the
think we
public way,
can.
the public has to have access.
I don't think they have to have
That's
it.
kind of common sense.
It
I
gets
think.
into the lake stuff too, and how
Yeah.
much access the
Right.
people have to the lake, and then it gets all,
I agree with Jamie with what he said about safety. I mean, I'm all for the signs, I'm all for police patrolling for speed. Where at this point, where I kind of disconnect a little is, you know, the badge on the car and the police following them to the house and, you know, that's, I'm having a tough time with that right now. I'm all for the signs, the speed checks, and trying to work out a better solution.
I wish I had a,
And I do too. I wish I had
I think,
yeah.
you know,
it's just a unique situation. I mean, the combination of a fair amount of traffic on a road that's so narrow and so winding, and it's privately owned, so it's not very well maintained, it just makes for dangerous circumstances. So I'm trying to, you know, if you guys can solve it, I don't need to get credit for it. I mean, I'm just trying to see if there's a workaround
but if we
here.
can put more
And there's gonna-
notable signage and a police officer sitting under a sign that says no through traffic.
But they can't, I mean, they're not going to
But they
be
can't
able
there
to
all the
do that
time, but it's school-
indefinitely.
School let out.
Yeah.
School, you know, I mean, if, at least first few weeks of the school year, I know they try to anyway, but maybe more presence.
Right. But I mean, at key times, and then
You're
maybe
right.
people know, because we get calls from Fisk Hill people that want somebody sitting at the top of Whittemore, and we get,
We could put the light sign, the message
speed light,
board.
yeah.
Yeah, if we could put the message board out there occasionally, no through traffic, private roadway, because people respond to the you know, the neon message board that
If
maybe
you're
we
willing
could
to
put
put
that
one
out
up,
there
that'd be
sometime.
fantastic.
At least, you know, the first 3-4 weeks of the school year.
And see, and I agree with something that he said earlier, if, you know, the police would run like a sting up there, and they sat there 2 cars.
Start
and
nailing
just-
kids, yeah.
Yeah, and the word gets out, like, hey, you know,
You're gonna get nailed if you
Yeah,
turn it.
you better
Eventually,
not go 120.
eventually they're not gonna wanna get the ticket.
right, and they'll just
Especially
go
if they
around.
get pulled over with a doobie in the car. I don't know.
They're really not gonna wanna get the
And they're
ticket,
under
yeah.
age- If they're
Explain that
underage.
one to Dad.
Of course, it's legal now, but not if you're under 18.
And not drive,
it's still not legal to smoke and drive.
So you say, well, it was my buddy who's smoking, I'm driving, I'm.
you're
I'm
getting the
sober as a
contact high
judge.
driving the car.
Just so you know, though, you can't smoke and drive.
I don't smoke at all, so I, you know, whatever.
No, but you'd be surprised, people know they can't drink and drive, but like, well, you know I was
Honestly, they
running.
don't- yeah.
I have yet to run on 131 where I don't smell marijuana.
Question all the time.
It's a problem,
Yeah.
but that's a whole nother
That's what some of my
discussion.
neighbors are saying to
But
me.
we can work on the message board. I mean, I think the message board, actually, people do respond to the flashing message board. We could certainly put that up there
Maybe-
for a few weeks, work on larger signage. I mean, we've no
Well,
problem.
and what about the speed limit too? I mean, right now it says.
It's 20 to 15.
We can't, so I think that would require a traffic study that we probably cannot do on a private road. But I
How
will
did it
check
come
on
up
that,
with 20, how does that work then? How did it come,
how that ever got put there.
because right now it's 20 miles per hour, correct?
And we didn't put it there. I mean, it's been there for a long time.
Yeah, I don't know what the history of that is. We'll figure the history.
But I'm just thinking, okay, if we can't restrict people with a decal or some other way of monitoring, if you make the speed limit 15 and people are coming through, those kids are coming through at 35, 40 miles an hour.
Right.
So a cop busts them for going 38 and a 15.
Yeah.
maybe they'll start thinking, maybe I'm not going to come through on this.
That's a big
this
hit.
slow-moving road. One last thought, and then I appreciate all the time you've already spent with me very much, is I brought, my buddy Matt brought this up last summer, routes 148 and 20, and you and I have talked about it
Yep.
too. So what I'm basically saying is, can the town please put pressure on the Commonwealth to come up with money, because my understanding is that those are state routes, so it's state money that's going to, or not. And, you know, first of all, just to make it easier for people to pass through with a smart light that at certain times of day allows traffic, more traffic to go one way or the other. And second of all, especially when school ends at 2 o'clock or whatever, traffic gets way backed up on 148. So put in a right-hand turn lane for people to turn towards Brimfield, and/or a smart, intelligent traffic signal, which you had said is pretty expensive to dig the old one up. And
Yeah, we talked to DOT a little bit, and we'll continue to have conversations with them. 148 is part of the whole corridor study.
They're very,
yeah.
let me just give my own personal opinion. They can be very difficult because I don't disagree that that needs to be addressed, but people off of New Boston Road have for years and years wanted something, because it's very dangerous crossing over when you get off the Pike and you're trying to get over to, you know, like
Take a left. on
Panera, the
Boston.
Pottery, and get on New Boston Road. And they did a study, and apparently, you know, there's not enough tragedies that have happened there for them to erect, like, you know, like an arrow only, you know, to have an arrow. This is just another problem area. And we have written so many letters requesting, and they say it's safe enough. Because we've had people who live on New Boston Road come before us and say, you know, you got to do something when they're flying off the Mass Pike. We're trying to cross over. And Mass DOT hasn't done anything. So, you know, we would be on your side. It's just that we don't have a lot of clout with the Mass DOT, unfortunately.
We could see if we can get funding to get another traffic study done at the light at 148, at least to get a study done that might say there's something, if we could get that going.
that'd be a start.
Now, the state should have to pay for the traffic study, though, no?
Well, they should, but
Because I thought they're the ones who conduct it.
we're looking at, for instance, doing the one on Arnold and 20, near the senior center, that we're looking at funding with ARPA money. Now, Arnold's a little different than
Because that's our
148,
road.
because
To
it's
consider
ours.
putting in a light there, or?
Well, to consider whether or not there needs to be remediation, further remediation, whether it's a
problem
right-hand
coming from
turn.
Brookfield at all points. All of those roads have some version of the same issue you're
Right.
talking about. And better or worse in some cases. So, you know, the 148 one gets more traffic when school comes out, but it's much more orderly and safe. When you're trying to get on the highway in the morning from New Boston Road and if someone's taking a left, it can be like Thunderdome. And Arnold Road at 5 o'clock when you're trying to take a left too, same thing.
I mean, that's how I get through 20 is Arnold Road.
Yeah.
So I usually go Cedar Street, so you're protected by a light.
Exactly.
It's safer.
So, but it's an issue, that's the problem, that's what Robin's getting at, within that large, the whole Route 20 corridor, going Charlton all the way to Brimfield. We have serious traffic issues, and something's got to give,
And
because
it's
it's
a
shutting down the whole
three-phase,
region.
it's a three-phase project that DOT has on its radar. It's just that it's, by the time you get to phase 3, which is the further west you go on 20, it's going to be a while. The 131,
Well, I'm
20.
planning to live here for another 20 years, so,
Might
you
see
know.
it then. I'm hoping I'll see it before I
It's
retire.
unfortunate, though. I still, I mean, yeah, I know what you're saying. Arnold Road is on us, but I really think
Right.
what this gentleman is referring to is that
We can
they should pay
ask-
for that.
So we can talk to Representative Smola and Senator Fatman. Senator Fatman's aide has been in touch with me about a couple of traffic
She
issues
lives
along
right in
20.
Sturbridge.
And so I could reach out to her and see if she can work with the state on getting it. I think she would, she's asked me if there are particular traffic areas that we'd like to get some more things done. She's looking at the Arnold Road situation and crossing over at CrossFit and seeing if we can do something to assist the crossing at CrossFit. So I might be able to see if she can tag something like this onto it if you all would like.
I think we also probably want to have Heather call.
Yep,
Yeah.
yes.
Anything you could do would be great, and any updates you can give me, or if Robin or
Stay in touch.
Michelle
Yep.
can be in touch with me about any of these issues, that'd be great. Our next meeting is May 10th, so, you know, if there's anything between now and
If
then,
you don't mind, drop me an email, like on the 8th.
okay?
That'll remind me to get whatever I need to you if there's anything new that I have, or to go, if it went off my radar, it gives me 2 days to get it to you.
I'll email you May 8th.
Because you never know. As I get older, the radar isn't as good. It doesn't have much
know.
capacity.
Okay.
Thank you for coming in tonight.
Yeah, we appreciate
Yeah,
it.
I think I just got dissed.
I don't think so.
Will do.
Realities.
Okay, I'm not sure what we decided, but
I don't know, we decided we'll figure something
I
out.
think we
and we'll-
decided at least we'll try to have a greater police presence during key times with school.
We'll work
right?
with Heather
I
on
mean-
signing.
And
the
we all
signage.
agree on the signage, we all agree on the
You could-
speed checks, we all agree, we just gotta kind of navigate.
And we
how
will
we're gonna
talk to
do
the
this
chief
right
about
thing.
putting the message board over there, maybe one of the flashing speed limit
And
signs.
we could inquire do a little research on how we can reduce it from 20 to 15 on a private road. Who put that up to start with?
on a private road that is that narrow and that winding. I mean, you've got 90-degree turns. I mean,
No, you really can't drive 20 or 25 on that safely.
And
You
people
can't drive
go,
25
people go
safely.
35, 40, believe me, or faster. And I know sign is just a sign, people are gonna go whatever speed, they'll go 55 if they want to, some will. But anyway, we're just trying to, in general, reduce the speed and in general, reduce the volume. And I don't think it'll take a ton of enforcement. Again, if word gets out, you know, a few people, hey, my neighbor got in a ticket, blah, 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 and the school kids, they're talking in their break, during the break, and, you know, yeah, those 3 kids all got tickets or something. That goes a long way, deterrence, so.
But you're happy with the pothole situation, unlike last summer?
Well, I was gone all winter. I will, if I could, just take a minute to address that, because I was gone all winter, but I talked to one of my neighbors who's in her 80s, and she said she's lived for 60 years on Lake Road, and this past winter, January and February, the hill was the worst condition it's ever been, in her opinion.
I
So,
think this is the same woman that contacted me.
Yes.
Carol Hooker, maybe?
Oh, I know Carol Hooker, it's not Carol Hooker.
Okay, it was Carol Hooker.
Okay.
So my point, and I'm trying to tell my neighbors, is these are just bandages. We're just putting bandages on a serious wound. And the other thing too, and I'm going to meet with Heather and Becky at Conservation on Thursday to see if we can expedite things, if indeed we raise the money on a paving project. But from an environmental standpoint, you've got a piece of roadway that is literally eroding and right next to a swamp. So that wetland is getting all those nasty chemicals as that asphalt breaks down and turns into fine particulate. Where do you think it washes? It washes with the water right into the swamp. So, you know, it's environmentally the right thing to do. Obviously, you'd have hay bales and whatever else conservation requires to do the construction, and then you'd have a nice road. And Heather said, based on the quote that I gave her, it would last for 20 to 30 years. It would be a headache-free road. But here's where we get the problem, because I got some of my other neighbors saying, there's no way I'm going to pay money to do it. The town should do it. And besides, if we fix that road, people are going to go even faster and be even more likely to go through.
probably true.
I'm really in a, you know, a catch-22, you know, darned if you do and darned if you don't. So then we talk about speed bumps, and everyone's got their opinion. Believe me, we've been throwing around all kinds of ideas. People are like, oh, we'll make it a one-way road when school's this way, and we'll make it another one-way road the other way. I'm like, what about everybody who just wants to go to the post office? They got to drive all
Yeah,
the way.
we even thought about that, but it was that the road is too long to pull that off, because you'd have people literally driving around the whole town as a loop.
So
around.
what are the practical solutions? I don't know. We're just trying to make the best of the situation. So
you.
thank you
Yeah.
for your time.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Have a
Drop me
good
an
one.
email by the 8th.
Okay, I will.
Thanks.
Have a good night.
All right, next up, we have consideration and possible action to close the annual town meeting warrant articles.
So you have the warrant in front of you, the water rate and sewer rate articles, the water and sewer budgets. I'm going to ask that we hold until Monday night to
Okay.
vote. Barbara's still working on some numbers. I believe all the rest are ready for vote. Some, if you want to do as a block, you could, like, you could do the, you know, articles 32 through 35, you could vote as a block. However you want to do it is fine with me. And then individual ones that might be of more controversy or discussion.
How does the
Yeah.
board feel about doing them in a block?
Yeah, most of it seems pretty non-controversial.
Yeah, I went through them.
And I can answer any questions on the budget as well. This is your, sort of your opportunity if there were budget questions outside of what we talked about.
No,
And
no.
it, you know,
It made sense.
okay.
There was no hidden, nothing hidden will make sense.
The only thing I was going to do is, some of them don't have a little summary yet. You're going to put a summary in all of them?
The latest version should, which one?
Yeah, I think
I thought the one on the senior center. Did I not see it? Oh, I'm sorry, it's at the top of the next page.
Yeah,
Never
I
mind.
tried to, I tried to
missed-
format,
I
I'm in
missed
the
it. I
process
missed
of
it.
formatting. Yeah, I thought we had summaries. I went through, I could have missed them, though.
was, Well, I mean, does it make sense just as any other particular articles people want to talk about? 'Cause
Yeah, I think that's the best thing. Why don't we talk about the articles we want to talk about, and then we'll block vote the
Yep,
rest.
and then
that we
just
don't-
pull water and sewer out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe, oh, go ahead. When we get to the sewer one, I mean, not the sewer one, the senior center, I'll add it.
Yeah, well, I don't have anything before the senior center one, so,
Okay, on the summary, maybe we don't have to put it in the summary, but maybe when you explain it, you can say that because it's CPC funding, it is not going to impact, it doesn't have an impact on your tax rate.
Yeah, so, and I certainly will, when we present that, I'm going to go through these warrant articles.
Not everybody will know that. They're already having
Yeah.
that money taken out, whether or not they vote for this.
Absolutely.
So if that can, I think in the past, we've sometimes, I forget the wording, even put the effect in the summary.
Well, before we get to that, though, shouldn't we block vote the first 6?
yeah.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to.
Sure.
Yeah, no. So when the senior center is a hold, any other, I had a question about the floodplain one.
Okay.
I have no real concerns, but.
So do we want to block vote 1 through 6 right now?
Sure.
Floodplain's not in that one, right?
Yeah, so I make a motion to approve, I guess we're,
Place and support.
yeah, place and support, there it is. I make a motion to place and support Articles 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Second.
Here we have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor? 3-0. All right. Article 7, Community Preservation Senior Center renovation requires a 2/3 vote. And I know we kind of touched on it a little bit. Robin, do you want to go in a little more detail on this? Because I know this is going to probably be the biggest discussion at town
Yes.
meeting.
So this was vetted through CPC to ensure that it complied with state regulations as to whether all the 1.7 million in request complied under historic. And the state came back, or Penny came back with a decision that they believed that whatever was presented to them was acceptable. They've accepted that number. I certainly can emphasize in that summary, Mary, I said reference shall come from CPC funding and directly related to applicable portions of this project. I could add
As such.
a line there, as such, this will not impact the debt override previously voted on.
Correct.
Or something to that effect.
So people
I
understand.
will be meeting with the moderator. I've got to set up a schedule, a meeting with the moderator, because I would like to request of him certain articles that I'd like to speak on, that I think it would be wise to at least present with the board's support if we do that. I think this would be one that might require a little bit of presentation up front.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's logical. It also would be on your toes for if somebody says, well, why don't we just take the 1.7 million from free cash?
Yep, and I'll be ready to answer that.
Logical, yeah.
Yep.
And it says, but otherwise,
Because we do, and again, you know, we've looked at the free cash numbers after we go through if the rest of these things pass, where free cash will be, and we're gonna eat up several million in this warrant, so.
Let me ask you, and this is just a question, so we do 1.7 in CPC funds towards the senior center. Is there anything left in that fund, or does that clean that
Their
fund?
fund balance, I think they may still have some fund balance left. I'll
That's useful.
check.
That's probably more
Yeah,
useful
somebody
to
may
know,
ask
'cause
that, yeah, I'll check.
You know,
with
if the
Penny.
free cash question comes up, you can say, well, no, because there's ample in the historic earmark, because
Let me look at their
that
budget, yeah.
amount increases every year. I don't think we fully deplete that, and a portion has to go to historic preservation. So I think we're still gonna,
No, I think it's great use for it.
I think we-
right, that
Yeah.
is like exactly what it's
It's what it's supposed to be,
Yeah.
and again, you raise you raise every year another batch of CPC
Right.
funding, so
Yeah.
it's money that's being raised anyway, but I will confirm what the number will be in that historic fund, because it's specifically from that historic
Yep.
reserve. Perfect. I can get that number. Thank you.
Do we want to make a motion on Article 7 now that we've?
Sure, subject to Mary's comments about updating the summary, which I don't think is part of the actual article. I would make a motion to place and support Article 7.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Nice, all right. Now, do we want to kind of
Yeah.
scroll through and,
8, 9's fine. 10 is fine. 11 is fine. 12 is fine. I'm fine with 8 through, we should probably not do the town budget
Budget's
as a
probably
block.
the separate.
Yeah, but 8 through 14, I had nothing. Does anybody?
The only one, I don't have an issue, I'm excited about it. Maybe just talk a little about Article 11. That's the footbridge going to
Yeah.
the new parking lot that,
Yeah, this is pretty cool. So the parking lot work is well underway after last vote, last town meeting. And the Trails Committee has worked, and is working with, I think it's Worcester Polytech. And they're going to have their students working on part of the engineer design, which will save us some funding, but then, of course, we're going to have permitting and formal engineering, stamped engineering plans for that. If we get the engineering plans for that, the next step, of course, would be to eventually get the funding to build the bridge.
Yep.
But that will link up that whole area
Yeah.
of 20 to the trails, and that's a
cool.
really
It is.
cool trail area. That's where we're going to have,
it
those
ties
are
the
really
businesses
family.
into the trails and.
It's great for the businesses, and they're family-friendly trails. I think these are going to be the trails where the flow trails are, and there's going to be just a lot of family activity.
And someday we'll get through all the way to Brimfield, and then it's gonna be
Yeah, that's,
the Albany Lookout.
We're just going to annex Brimfield when we're
We wanted
ready.
to link
I
our
like Brimfield,
trails.
we could annex them.
We've wanted to link our trails to the commercial end of town for like a decade.
Yeah.
And
So
here it
it's
is.
finally
And
happening.
So this is really exciting, this project. I'm
where are
kind
we
of
on the
excited.
parking lot?
I know I want to say some of the work's been contracted already. I'll get an
Really?
update. Yeah.
We already sent it out for quote, yeah.
Yeah, I think we sent that out for quote, and it some of the grading work may have started. Let me check on that.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
I feel like,
it's moving. I have an
I feel
update
like
on my
this summer
capital
or
list.
fall, we were supposed to have
Yeah.
it.
You're right.
Right?
There should have been- Yeah, there should have been some engineering work done or
Yeah.
bid it out. Well, I'll follow up on it, but I know
Okay.
it was it was in progress.
Can we just go back to Article 10 for a moment?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, so I think this is also great, but I thought we had the money for all the Grand Trunk Trail extension from the federal government. Is this different?
I think it's the parking lot at the end.
This is separate. This has to do, we're taking two easements that aren't costing us. These are being granted by residents. We have letters from them. But yeah, this is for parking ancillary to the actual trail work that had been done.
Okay, but we can't use monies for that? that
No,
we
it wasn't
got?
part of the federal grant money.
It was
Those were
not.
expended separately.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have a motion on Article 8 through 14?
I move to place and support Articles 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Mayor?
Oh, I'll second that, yes. I'm sorry, I was just reading over,
Yeah. We have a motion, we have a second, any discussion? All in favor?
I was looking at the restoration of the war memorials.
Exciting, yeah.
Yeah, who initiated, who got that?
I think a lot of this was Mr. Breer.
Okay.
Was behind a lot of this, yeah.
Okay. So, Article 15, town budget.
The budget.
I mean, I thought you did a great job last week, Robin, going through it all. I didn't see any surprises. Everything was pretty, made sense. All of the concerns we continually raise about the economic, or at least the financial climate, probably a better way to say it. I think you did a good job addressing. We're just gonna have to keep making good decisions going forward, but I think we're doing that with this budget.
Thank you.
And I already said my piece Tuesday night. I still, and I'm going to look into it a little more, stand firm that I think like we've done for 10, 15 years, we should have had some tax relief as a warrant article. And I know it's not just, Barbara doesn't agree, but I think that we're exceeding that fiscal policy by quite a bit. And I don't know, I want to look into it a little bit more myself before, but I just want to say that for the record, that I am disappointed that there's no tax relief from free cash. And
I think
because we
that-
have a stabilization fund for various things and free cash, and I just don't see our situation as being drastically different than it has been in the past when we have found some room for that. So maybe next year, I don't know, I'll just keep on my soapbox until somebody else agrees.
Look, no, look, philosophically, if I thought we could, the first thing I would want to do is not hold taxpayer money. My concern is that there has been there are a lot of infrastructure and capital items that have been let go and kicked down the road. That's the trade-off sometimes for giving the money back, and it's a balancing act. What can you give back to the public, and what do you desperately need? We're replacing now things that were 04 and 05 and 06 pieces of equipment that probably should have been replaced 4 or 5 years ago. And I'm concerned until we can get a full capital picture of not having that much, we've got, I don't know, 4 or 5 million coming out of free cash this year for these projects.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
But then we're still going to have 5 mil, I mean, we're still going to have,
A lot,
A
but
lot
we
there,
should.
a lot.
But again, when you look at what's, when you look at all the budget, what's considered prudent, what's considered GASB standards, we're not that far over. Maybe
that's why
by
I
the
want to do a
town's
little
policies,
Because
but
I think the state does give guidelines, and I think.
the DOR does.
And we're exceeding those, I believe. So I don't want to say too much
But
till
again,
I
I
can
think
look
when you,
into
yeah,
it.
and I think when you look at the guidelines, the other thing to look at, though, is the guidelines are good, but then you have to compare that against your 5-year infrastructure needs.
Mm-hmm.
Because we might be over right now, and we probably are.
Well, we
But-
also don't have adequate capital planning.
We really don't,
But,
and
but
we-
it,
yeah.
but it kind of goes, but I think we covered. We went around.
I mean, we
No,
are,
it's an important
we're giving
discussion.
200,000 to our capital stabilization fund. So we are, I'll just leave it at that for
Fair
now.
point, we'll sort it out as
Yeah.
it goes along.
I think our heart is all there.
Yeah, but I want to have some of the stats lined up for how much we've taken in the past versus how much we're taking now. And if we do need to relook at that fiscal policy, then we should. Because that was written, and this was written many years before, obviously before you were here. But that's always been our guideline, so if we fell below it, the Finance Committee was always like, well, we can't fall below that fiscal guideline. But when we exceed it, we don't have that same concern that now we're exceeding it. And
I think the other measure is going to be, because the last 2 years with COVID have been very hard to gauge, we've had a lot of free cash because we under-budgeted revenues, frankly.
Federal
Prudently.
government gave us a ton of money.
Right.
And now money's expensive, but so,
Yeah.
and then versus what are they getting back versus what the money costs. It's all complicated. It's a weird year
I think
for
when we
everything.
reconcile
Yeah.
this year's, this upcoming, when we reconcile FY '24, we'll have a very good sense of if there's truly extra, if you will, that we can give back. Because '24 will be our first year, I think, fully back on track post-COVID, without federal funding throwing things off, without disproportionate revenues. So I agree that in a year, I think we take a hard look at it. And hopefully by then I'll have a 5-year capital plan.
But in the meantime, I have a
Meantime,
motion.
sorry. I could talk budgets all night. I have no
motion
life,
for Article
obviously.
50.
I have no life, I can sit here and talk budgets all night.
I move to place and support Article 15.
second,
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
All right. Road construction, all right. 16. What's it always? 20.
I just have a comment on Article 19.
Okay.
And it's more of a comment for next year. And I know we've talked about tree plantings in the islands along 131, and I'm
Yes.
just really hoping next year we can
Make it
find some
happen.
money for that.
So we do have money, if you look,
For the engineering for it?
no, town administrator, what did I put in for? I put in money somewhere. Oh, TA. Gateway signage is listed there.
Okay.
And we also are looking with ARPA to put
we're
some
looking
money.
to hopefully put, the last meeting, weren't able to move forward, we didn't have a quorum. But I'd like to put like a significant amount of ARPA money.
Great.
Towards it.
So
that
this
makes me very happy
35
here.
is to offset or to add to even that. So this is for signage and whatnot, and then the trees can come out of the
Because
ARPA
we've put it
money.
off for so many years saying, well, they're going to put a roundabout there, that could be a decade from now. And in the meanwhile,
Yeah.
we have one of the most poorly
Yeah.
landscaped entrances into town that I've
It's
seen.
such a beautiful spot at 131 and 20, and everybody's there. It should be beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a nice big round area to plant something. So we have the 35,000 on that Article 19, I think it's 19, for betterment is, I put that in because of what the board had talked about under the goals, when we had the goals day, to talk about our gateway signage, and that sort of in my mind was in conjunction with some of the beautification that we might do with ARPA funding. You can go as far as, I think, 30 before we
Yeah,
hit the water
because the
department.
water, 30 and 31 are
Yep.
water and sewer.
So you can go up to 30.
I didn't see anything in those ones that really jumped out at me. but Those seems like stuff we need
Sewer
to do.
department crane truck, Robin.
Yep.
So that's going to come out of the sewer reserve fund.
Yes.
And it's gonna be cleaning manholes.
Yeah, that crane truck goes into things and cleans things and.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we don't currently have one, correct?
We have one that I believe is,
It's gone, past its
yeah,
life.
it's,
Yep.
yeah. Another capital thing, and we'll talk about some of the concerns we have with the water sewer budget Monday night, which is why I did not want to rush this. The reserves on that are very tight.
Okay.
So,
Well, I mean, I know Kevin Smith indicated concern, but we did increase the rates quite a bit last year with the understanding that we were going to do them again this year, but we split it in two rather than doing it, am I
All last
correct?
year.
All last year. We said we'd do some last year and
we're
some this year.
trying to even keep it as minimal as we can this year, but we do need to look at the reserves because that's going to be.
Yeah, I mean,
So we'll talk Monday about it, but yeah,
it's beyond our control.
It is.
We built a large wastewater treatment plant.
Yep.
The goal was to have more neighborhoods on board.
Yep.
But they're not, knocking down our doors to get on board. And so we can either, change the rates or increase the
You need
ratepayers.
customers, right.
I mean, those are our only two options.
The customers cost money too, because then
Exactly.
you increase flow and then you cross, it's an
expensive service, it's a service that, and with the increases, yes, it sounds awful, but it's $20, $30, $40 a year for a household probably, which is tough for some people, but many people can weather it, and again, it's a user fee, it's not a broad across the spectrum tax for everybody, so.
Now, obviously, when the rates go up, it goes up for town buildings too. The town buildings all
We
have to
pay,
pay
yes.
the sewer.
Yes,
Because
because
that has
it's-
to be shared by everybody.
It's not formally an enterprise fund in this town, but we treat it as such, it is a special fund. So, it's not fair that non-users should have to subsidize that, so it is paid. The sewer, just like we pulled the leachate out this year and put it into the landfill, the sewer was doing sort of the leachate work for the landfill, and in trade, the landfill was doing something for the sewer, but it was far less of a trade-off.
Okay, so explain this to me. I was under the impression that, for town hall, the library,
Yep.
all of the public buildings that are on town
Yep.
services are paying their portion
Yes.
of,
They should be, yeah.
yeah, they are. And that, it's actually a line
Yes.
item in the budget.
Yes, it should be, yeah, sewer
Okay,
fee,
all right.
sewer use, yeah.
Can we, when we go through this on Monday, can we just explain to me what the contracts we have with the vendor are? Just so I can see,
Veolia, yeah.
yeah, because this is, it's.
Heather will be here Monday to go
Yeah,
over
I want to
this,
see,
yes.
because I don't want to do anything drastic before town meeting, because I don't think we're organized enough for it, but we have I just want to understand all the economics
Yes.
of it before we start just
And-
poking at
yes.
one part of it, because then it's like, I don't know what the heck that means relative to this, it's like even
Even how
Chase's
they're.
question about the
yeah.
truck, right?
And how they're billing, how they bill us, how Veolia bills us by CPIU versus how sometimes other
Yeah.
companies might bill, and
And I'm not saying they're doing anything wrong
No.
either, it's
just
hard to talk about.
expensive service.
Without.
When is, in this, because I know we negotiated it while I was on the board, when is Viola's contract up?
I think it's got a few years left. We could possibly be up for renewal. I want to say it's 4 or 5 more years, I think.
4 or 5?
I believe,
Yeah.
but.
It was a 10-year contract,
Yeah.
wasn't
It
it?
was a 10,
That
that's
sounds
what,
about
yeah.
right. We
So,
can
and it
always
was-
reopen and
it was like
extend if
5
we
years ago,
wanted.
yeah.
And the problem is you could go out to
They're only
bid,
about halfway.
but to write a new contract is probably a $20,000 to $25,000 expense.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I was just
No, I'm
curious
just
as far
generally,
as,
just,
No,
yeah.
no, no, we're
Years-wise.
just, so.
No, it's a good service, it's
We were
just,
the only ones that came back.
expensive.
too, no.
no, we didn't.
and
say
the
that.
infrastructure, I mean, I think the bigger concern that Kevin was referencing is we have a lot of sewer and water infrastructure that is going to need major repair. And that's where the concern about the reserve funds is. The operating budget, we're working, it's okay. But we're not getting enough
But it's
into
the
those
same
reserves.
thing we keep talking about. We did not do our preventative maintenance for a 25 or 30-year
Yep.
period, and now we're like, oh, man, all of these projects cost so
Exactly.
much money. So I'm not saying that I'm not disagreeing with you at all. But anyways, let's talk about
Yep.
Monday. I don't want to get.
That's
well,
Monday.
I have a motion for 16 to 29, unless anybody has something else on those ones.
I have nothing on those.
I move to place and place and support Article 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, and 29.
We have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? All All right, Article 30 and 31 will be left for Monday night. 32, we want to discuss that on Monday night, or is that?
Oh, those, that's ready to roll. Those are just betterments.
So,
Okay, I'm not anything there.
That's pretty much a pro forma one.
35 makes sense. 36 makes sense. 30 makes sense. All right, yeah, I'm good. 32 to 38.
Robin, can you explain 34 a little bit?
Sure. 34.
MS4 compliance, yeah, this is a state, federal, actually, EPA stormwater MS4. This is a whole so stormwater is one of those things that at some point we may have to look at, almost like a sewer enterprise fund type thing. It's becoming more and more costly. It's all about compliance with stormwater regulations, and they're requiring us to ensure compliance on everything. So it's all coming down from the state, and I'm not sure what the actual activities associated with it are, but it has to do with reviewing all of our collection systems and any, new construction, anything like that. So it is fully a state mandate, an unfunded state mandate.
So that's $100,000 coming out of our pocket to comply.
Yeah,
with the
and
state.
we've talked about whether or not at some point this should just get put in an operating budget, because it's
Right.
going to be every year $100,000. It almost really shouldn't be a free cash. This goes back to the point of, what should be in a budget. If we know every year we're gonna have to do it, or, do you charge? I mean, not everybody's sort of a user of the stormwater system, if you will. You might argue anybody who drives on a road is, but do you set it up as a separate stormwater charge, as its own fund? Either way, you're taxing, but it's, what pocket you're pulling it out of.
But those mostly go off the main drags, right?
Yeah,
So that's kind of everybody's.
it's sort of
position.
everybody. Yeah, if it's, that's how it would be hard to weed out
They just
who's a
wanna keep-
user and who's
mostly
not.
keeping salt out of the water, isn't it?
A big part of it is that. And so, again, I think at some point, if we have the room, it should go as a budgetary line item, a DPW budgetary line item.
Right, if it's going to be every year.
Every year, we don't have a choice. I mean, my question is, what if town meetings in every town voted it down?
Right.
Now what?
Yeah, I was just going to ask, what if we don't comply?
Yeah, the federal government's gonna force us to do it anyway, so, yeah. I mean, we can't trump them, unfortunately, so,
Tough.
Yeah.
Sorry you don't like that, go do it.
yeah, too bad. Or we'll never give you another penny in grant money again.
Yeah, federal judges are a funny thing.
Yeah, nobody I wanna be in front of.
But the,
And I know it's kind of self-explanatory, but because it's $1 million, Cooper Road culvert, Rob.
Yes, so this,
That's the swamp.
yeah,
that-
that's the one that the dams have cost us, the beavers have cost us a lot of money. And so if those beaver dams break, that culvert is in no way capable of withstanding.
Yeah, I know.
Have a massive flooding event. Those little architects are amazing.
They are.
They outsmart us. We are not the superior species. All you have to do is look at this road to know we are not the superior species. We have been outsmarted at the cost of $1 million. Gotta respect those little buggers. And no, these are not private roads. I had a question asked of me. Somebody thought these were private roads.
No, no.
Just for clarification for
Yeah.
anybody listening, these are
Right,
not, yeah.
Coopers.
Yep, just for
Where's
clarification.
Falls Road?
I don't know where Falls is.
Do you know where that is, Jamie? I've never.
It's a very small, all I know is it's a tiny road. And if it floods, a whole area can't be accessed.
Same.
It's like a connecting road somewhere. We'll have to ask Heather Monday.
okay, I've got an article, unless anybody's got anything 32 to 38, I've got a motion. I would move to place in support Article 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, and 38.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Jamie, I know you had some questions.
Yeah, just quick,
on 30.
I think I missed the meeting when Gene talked about this one, or maybe I didn't, and I'm just not getting brighter. But this is mostly just FEMA's telling us to redo or
Yeah.
draw our floodplain.
Yep, we held all the public hearings on this, and then planning voted it. You all voted to kick it to planning, and then planning voted it. It's just
So what's the practical impact of this, if anything?
There's some people who are impacted by it, certain lots were impacted.
From an insurance perspective?
A lot from an insurance perspective, flood zone, where you might be able to build or not build.
Gotcha.
And what fell into that category of flood zone. It
So
just
is it more
expanded it a bit.
it expanded
Yeah,
a
it
bit?
expanded it a bit, but I didn't get the sense from Gene, and I certainly didn't get any phone calls from anybody up in arms that they now were in a flood zone. I don't think it impacted anybody specifically where they lived, in a home, in a garage, we've heard I haven't heard any backlash, and there was a lot of public outreach on this.
All right, perfect, that makes sense to me, that's all I couldn't remember.
Make a motion for 39.
Sure, yeah, I will make a motion to place and support Article 39.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion, a second, any discussion? All in favor?
Article 40, very quickly, if I could just
Yeah.
point out, this one is deceptive. We have to show it as $250,000, but $175,000 is anticipated in grant reimbursement.
Okay.
Well, that's good news.
Yeah, and then 50,000 of it is going to be in kind. So it's either, there's a minimal amount that we're going to actually expend, but we have to borrow it that way. I just have to check on the math. I actually thought it was 150 and
Okay.
50, or 250.
Hold on it?
Do we want to hold
No,
that?
no, if you vote on it just pending my confirming numbers, it's not going to change the substance of the article.
Okay.
Why don't we do that one now, then?
Okay, I will make a motion to place and support Article 50 contingent upon Robin confirming that the number is in fact 175,000 in anticipated grant reimbursement.
Article 40, just to,
Oh, what did I say? I'm sorry.
50.
50, sorry.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, Article 40, my apologies.
So we have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion, a second, any discussion, all in favor? So, Article 41 and 42,
Yes.
Robin, the sewer main lining and manhole repair and coating
Yes.
on Route 20. We did some of that, this is totally different than what we.
No, this is the Route 21 is connected.
Okay,
This is so this was when Heather had they did the study to see if we had to replace the whole line or if we could line it.
Yep.
They said we could line it. This is the result of that. The other one, 131, is totally different. That's a sewer line that is struggling a bit.
we've discovered, okay.
Now, with respect to these, that's coming from our sewer fund balance, why can't this come from, why is this coming so much disproportionately to the people on town services? Or is it? Because this is coming from our reserve fund balance on our sewer.
Well,
where
yeah.
really, this is the kind of thing, so I'm having a hard time getting my grasp of this. This is like benefiting everybody. And I don't understand why it has to all come from the sewer fund balance. That's something I would personally looked into.
I can look into that.
Legally, because this, like, the whole town.
Yes.
This should be like a town-wide project. And the sewer fund balance is primarily coming from the residents who are on town services and from those few public buildings that are contributing because they're on town services.
Yep.
I don't, and if we didn't have to, our reserve fund, our balance in the sewer would be better.
I certainly am happy to look at, it's a fair question, because no different than when you do a sewer installation.
Correct.
If it's on a main road, you put that out across the town as a cost. Because
Correct.
we benefit from services along those roads.
Exactly.
These are main roads. I can look into whether or not we could do that out of the main free cash versus the reserves.
And that will alleviate
A little bit of the pressure
some
on
of
the
the
reserve
pressure,
fund.
like the
Yeah.
questions that we were asked last Tuesday from certain members of the finance committee.
Yep. That would, so we can, you want to put a hold on those till Monday?
Yeah.
I
night?
would,
Yeah.
yes,
Okay.
definitely.
And I'll talk to Barbara about
That's a
that. Barbara
really
will be
good-
here as well Monday, so.
Yeah.
Yep, I conceptually, it goes, like I said, with a borrowing for a main sewer line. If you were putting a new sewer line down, if 131 had never had a sewer,
Right.
we would put that as a town-wide project because it benefits the town. It's all businesses and homes.
Exactly.
And not just users benefit from that.
Right.
Right, the town will gain tax revenue, if you will, from those sewers.
It's a very
Federal tax
similar
revenue. Yeah,
situation.
Similar concept, yeah, happy to look into that.
So next up, we have Article 44, concrete tank repair at wastewater
Oh,
treatment.
43 is at the
43,
bottom, yep.
43.
Yeah, it's bottom of the page. I tried to do these where I didn't have that happen, but
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
water
St.
tank.
Anne Fiskills and Stelling Hills Water Tank Maintenance Repair. So Article 43, 44, and 45 are all pretty similar. Do you have any discussion on those?
Yeah, what's 45?
That's a water line that runs, we call it the Old Sturbridge Village line, it runs underneath there. Shane has some concerns about that because it is inaccessible. There's an area further down on it that is somewhat compromised. If that compromised section goes, we cannot get to a shut-off other than way up.
Okay.
Because the shut-off is they built the shut-off underneath everything.
Yeah,
So in order to get to the shut-off, we would actually, to shut down that water if there was a compromise, we'd have to put a whole hunk of town without water.
and it's in the woods, too.
It's
Yeah.
like impossible to get to.
That
We
makes
couldn't even
sense.
get somebody like overnight to get there.
Right.
So it's 43, yeah, that makes sense. to me.
Yeah, that's a major preventative maintenance one.
Now, again, is that something that has
That
to come
is-
from the water?
That would be more user, because if we had to shut off the water, somebody got a well would not be at all impacted. This is a
that makes
total,
sense.
only users would be impacted by this.
Okay,
Okay.
that's fair.
Well, as a sewer user, I will move to
Place
place and support.
You want water in that area.
Yeah, water and sewer, Article 43, Article
Wanna take a
44,
bath.
and Article 45.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion, a second, any discussion? All in favor?
So 46, I did the way they did the last one, which was a general article with the attached charter, and then I just summarized off that cover letter that the charter committee had given us in the summary. The changes, I did correct or remove the section on the town administrator not sitting on
the
the
strike.
committee.
Yeah.
But I did leave the portion that they said, because you didn't address this, of residents or qualified non-residents could be appointed. So if I pulled a police chief from another town, for example, I did leave that. I got the sense that all you were concerned about was that the town administrator sat on the committee. So I took that section out that they had put in, and then the rest is as was voted.
Yeah, we were going to wait for you, but we figured you had expressed
Sort of knew
concern
you- yeah.
yourself.
Yes.
And asked for their reasoning,
Yeah.
and we just didn't find it compelling,
Okay.
their reason
Yeah.
for excluding.
It won't
Yeah,
be-
they're
If
just-
it ain't broke, don't fix it. Mine's-
Yeah, I just think as a result of that's how Bob
Right.
Yeah.
municipality worked, but
Yeah.
we've never had a complaint about it.
Exactly.
And I like the input from the TA.
I do too.
So-
So, no, I'm happy.
Depends on the DA.
Yeah, good. I'm flattered that you trust me that much.
But
Good.
I will move to place and support Article 46.
Second.
Let's face it, if it
Yeah,
fails,
well-
it's on me too. So-
We have a motion, a second, any discussion? All in favor?
So for the specials, I'm going to ask that you do those pending numbering change, because I have to adjust the article numbers. I didn't have a chance when I was playing around with this today.
All right, so we need to close it.
Same with this, yep. So you need to close these, it's four, 1, 2,
Well, I don't think we've closed the annual warrant.
oh, you know
right?
what, you didn't pull the, yeah, you have to close the annual
Yeah,
one.
so I move to close the annual town meeting warrant,
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second, all in favor?
and I think we're holding on C until she does it next week.
Yeah. Yeah, and Robin, we're gonna hold on these till Monday, the special?
No, we
Yeah.
can do the.
You wanna?
Yeah, they're pretty simple, except you have this one
Oh.
more on these that Michelle just didn't get the last one, but we
Oh, I
can
see, I
start
see.
quickly on these.
Now, it goes from 46 on the regular and then 56.
I think it's supposed to go to 47. I have to check how the numbering works
All
here. I
right,
believe it goes in
Yeah.
order, but then somebody said, no, it goes from the last special. So that's why I said pending numbers.
Yeah, all right, okay.
I thought you meant money. Unpaid bills, I don't care about that.
So snow and ice, unpaid bills, I can talk to you a little bit about the opioid program while Michelle's pulling up the final one. So there was a national settlement, there's ongoing national settlements regarding opioids with the big pharma, CVS, Walgreens, the manufacturers, big money nationwide. We've gotten about 54,000 so far. I have an internal committee. We're working on branding, a Sturbridge sobriety kind of a brand with an image. We're sort of coming a long way, but the problem is we have no way to expend the funds. So they had to go into the general fund by law. The state has not authorized a special revenue fund for this. So it's gone into the general fund, but I have no budgeted line item out of which to spend it. So I'm looking this year at least to transfer that money from free cash for the purposes of, to a created line item, or a created setup that we can expend free cash to do this. We've probably gone through, we brought in a marketing person, We haven't paid her yet, obviously, but we're probably looking at, right now, we've probably already spent maybe $4,000 or $5,000, but looking to print materials. I'm good, Michelle, I don't need one, so.
I don't think this is,
Yeah, there should be one more article.
oh, yeah, it is.
Yep,
It is,
one
I'm
more
sorry.
article on it.
It's
So,
already on mine.
is it on that one?
Yeah, so when I was so confused.
I didn't have it on
Nothing new
mine,
here.
okay. I didn't have it on mine, that's why I got worried. So that's the opioid article, and then the final article that I didn't have on mine was the transfer from the schools for 200. I will have a summary written for that. I think I put a little blurb, I emailed Deb Boyd, but it was late in the day. This had to do with the 600,000 they were running over because of the special ed and out-of-district tuition costs that she mentioned the other night.
Yeah.
They were able to weather about 400,000 of that, but they're still 200,000 short. They may even be less than that, but at this point, we have to ask for at least that much. Again, another unfunded state mandate. We are trying to poke at the state about these. It's critical these children get the right education, but the expense is prohibitive on a town-by-town, particularly for small towns.
No, makes sense. I'm fine with Articles 56, 57, 58, and 59 if everybody else is.
Pending numbering change.
Pending.
Yeah.
I'm pending anything, really.
Easy, Jamie, you're too
Pending,
easy.
don't
Make it too
read.
easy
Yeah, I'm
for
not
me.
gonna.
Yeah, pending a change or two.
I don't care if we skip 10, it really doesn't matter to me. That's how you do exhibits.
Oh, now this is what goes on with lawyers. Now we know what they really think.
Yeah, I was like, I didn't need 43.
Yeah, get rid of that.
I moved to place and support Article 56, 57, 58, 59.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Thank you.
I would like just to have the board's support if I see Scrivener's errors throughout this,
Sure.
that you're acceptable to make some, tweaks on language if I need to.
Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. Thank you, I have to thank you. This was a very pleasant closing of a warrant.
Good.
It usually is.
No, thank you.
Well, we usually,
here.
we open and close it a lot. I mean,
It may open again,
Yeah.
but there's not, I will tell you, I don't have anything, we pulled a few things out that we thought we would have in as placeholders, but frankly, at this point, I'm not comfortable if I'm not really sure that something is ready to be put forward.
Yeah.
We're inclined not to unless something comes from your end that bubbles up that you all feel needs to be added.
No, I think it makes sense.
Yeah, I agree.
So, all right, well,
We didn't have a special town meeting this year, too,
No,
right?
we did not.
Yeah, it was the first year that
first here in a minute. Well, I'm going to move to adjourn. We're there.
you're gonna what?
I said, I think we're going to motion to adjourn. Oh, I have to close the warrant, right?
Oh, the special, I have to close
Yeah,
the
close
special
this-
too.
move to close the special warrant.
special, and
Second.
We ever open the special?
we have a motion, a second, all in favor? Yeah. And then we'll do old business. Do you have any old, Jamie? Mary?
No.
I have no old. And
Do we have correspondence? I do have one bit of correspondence, and I forwarded it to Rob, and you might have all gotten something, but a resident, I don't know who she is, but she has been inquiring about why Heal is not exercising their medical marijuana license that we gave to them.
I didn't get that.
Okay, I did, and apparently she gets it for her son, and every time she goes to Heal, they're only selling recreational. And I understand the medical is strong, they can get more for medical, stronger and more. It's a little bit different, the way it was explained to me. All I know is the other facility can't do medical.
Right,
And
yeah.
she's been going out of town. And she said, is their license prohibiting another, somebody else from having medical? And I said, yeah, well, we've only given one medical.
Right.
So I don't
Follow
know.
up on it, yeah, I have to follow.
And I had asked, what's the difference? And I thought somebody, one of the owners,
Prescription grade versus non-prescription grade.
It-
so
it's
some of it can pick it up.
stronger.
Yeah, much stronger.
yeah, and so they're going out of town for it. And I don't think Keel told us they weren't going to do
No,
their
they-
medical.
It was
They were
never-
gonna,
it was-
thought they were gonna have one register or one aisle or whatever for recreational, and then the other one for medical.
And you would be able to, put the order in ahead. for
Correct.
medical and be ready.
So, I don't know. So I gave it, I just forwarded it.
Good,
Yeah, I've
good.
got to follow up. I've got to talk to them too about,
I was gonna say, we haven't
we
had
haven't
any
received our,
correspondence with
I
them.
haven't gotten my payments. We gave them some latitude because they were tight to split it over 6 months. And now I've got to follow up because we're due again to get
Was
money.
that
and we
Heal
have
or
not.
was that, or was it both of them? I guess we did all of them, right? I
No,
thought it was
we-
local
no,
roots that we split.
It was
Yeah.
actually local roots we split. Heal,
Yeah.
I've had virtually no contact
I was
with.
gonna say, I don't remember.
Keel is the one further down 20.
Yeah, but I have
towards
to follow up because
Springfield.
Barbara just indicated she hasn't seen any payments come in from either, so. I mean, it's a shame, we have to actually like monitor, hunt this down, but we're going to have to.
They're not heavily populated, I mean.
They're not.
No.
It's not
I mean,
making the money that,
Well, Connecticut legalized.
yeah.
Yeah,
Bada bing, bada boom.
yep, and then we're no longer a destination now.
And we had to jump through two hoops because we were one of the communities that voted to legalize, and it was kind of complicated, if I recall. The communities that didn't vote, they only needed to, we needed to go to a town election and have a referendum saying we didn't want recreational facilities. And we did, and we voted them out. But town council said you also have to go and change the zoning. So when we went to town meeting, we didn't pass that hoop, so we passed the bigger one. So all I'm trying to say is initially, there wasn't a lot of support to have them anyway.
Yep.
Because they were voted out at the polls. And so I'm not totally surprised that they're not doing
Yeah.
as well as they thought
And
they
now
would.
the state
And I think he's right, it's Connecticut, they thought people would come off 84.
There's just tons of, now it's this market, they're all competing with each other.
Yep.
and-
And the newness wore off.
And, I mean, like, when I go running by, maybe there's one car
Ours, the places always both look sort of empty.
empty.
And, you know, that now the state legislation, and there's a big to-do over whether it's all grandfathered, now they're basically trying to say that you have to, we would have to justify to this huge degree the impact fees, or else they don't have to pay the same amount of impact fee. We're arguing, no, the towns voted based on these numbers.
Right.
And you gotta grandfather us if you're gonna change the legislation for anything new coming in. So we're kind of keeping our eye on that too, because the state legislation basically is now saying to the cities and towns, well, you know what, you thought you were gonna get this much money, but too bad. Partially because it's probably not going as well as they all thought. And there's a lobby up there, I'm
But
sure, at the State
they were
House.
voted upon contingent upon the reward.
Exactly,
And they
and
may
so-
have been voted down otherwise.
And that was my point to the attorneys, was that we'll stand strong on the fact that our town we did not vote for those without a number in front of them. And I'm not willing to back down that would not be acceptable to change that without a vote. So that's kind of my position on it, because money was probably a seller on this, which it obviously
Of course it
is.
was.
Revenue is always.
Syntax or syntax.
Yeah, I mean, and we looked at, you look at free cash, at turn back money this year, one of the big hunks of the numbers was that initial marijuana funding that we got a couple $100,000 for.
Right.
For all that impact stuff that started up, but we're gonna lose that, then,
Well, all the meals tax and hotel tax, I don't understand what the difference is at that point. But that's a whole other conversation for a different
But
day.
a big hunk was marijuana this year, and that's not gonna continue, those were those initial monies coming in. But if they change those numbers, and I think there's enough pressure from most of the cities and towns that voted it, that they're not going to, but the requirement on the impact fees, it's very hard to quantify. How many more calls did we get because Local Roots happens to be here? I don't know. Unless it's at Local Roots, which that's not really what the impact of those things are. How do you quantify if there's been an increased use in marijuana? If, you pull people over OUI, was it locally purchased marijuana? We're not tracking that.
No, and nor, yeah.
We just logistically, you couldn't.
Yeah, no.
How many people on Route 84 did the state police get there? How do you quantify this? So if they're asking us to quantify something that's very hard to quantify.
Well, yeah, let us know.
Yeah, we're following it.
All right, any more correspondence?
That was my only correspondence this week.
I had none.
There was a motion on the floor.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you all so much for coming in tonight. I appreciate it. This way we can get.